Good afternoon. I am Tanya Lee. I'm the Quality Assurance Specialist here at NIH Child Care Programs. I am thrilled to welcome all of you to our second session of our Fall Lunch and Learn seminars, which is the best practices for managing and enjoying the toddler years. Our presenter is new to NIH, Ms. Stephanie Cromwell, and Stephanie's bio is in your handouts in your folder. You will also see an evaluation in your packet that we would greatly appreciate it if you would fill it out and turn it in after the seminar. For those of you that are watching via webcast, you should have seen a link for the handouts when you clicked on for the Lunch and Learn seminar today. This link will remain active after the seminar is placed in archives. If you, those that are attending today, if you have a question, please hit the button on the mic so that we can hear you, and those that are viewing also. And thank you for attending and viewing the parenting seminars. And be sure to give us your feedback and any ideas you have for any upcoming sessions. And now I'll turn it over to you, Stephanie.
Thank you. So is this working? Not really. Okay, we can hear. Here, you can hear me well. Good morning. Thank you guys. Actually, good afternoon. Thank you all for taking your lunch hour to come and hear this best practices for enjoying your toddler. I'm hopeful that I can start out just by figuring out who you are, what kind of kids you have. How many of you have a brand new baby under a year old? How many of you have? Okay, yes, including all. I know we're talking about toddlers, just so that I can know what kind of activity is happening at 3 in the morning in your house. How many of you have a child between the ages of 1 and 2? 2 and 3? 3 and 4? 4 and 5? Okay, so we are right, my attendees here actually are right in the thick of the joy of toddlerdom. So I am Stephanie Cromwell. I'm actually from North Carolina. I have a degree in early childhood education from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And I have been in this area for 15 years, and I cannot lose the southern accent. I think it's just going to be here. I also do tend to talk quickly, so if for some reason I'm jumping ahead of you, just hands up and let me roll. I will roll back. I also have been a teacher in Montgomery County for 10 years before I left, and I had my twins, who are now 5. And then I had another one. I had 4-month-old twins, and wow, I think I'm going to have another baby. So then I have a 4-year-old. So my house, thankfully at 3 in the morning, we are quiet. But there is not very many other times that we are quiet. So I tell you this because I feel your pain. I know someone had said, how is veterinary medicine? Because when you have these children that aren't communicating the way they really want to, the way a dog or a cat just can't tell you, it's definitely about perspective. And my challenge today is to reassure you that toddlerdom is a fascinating and fantastic and marvelous time, regardless of how often we have to have tantrums and how much we have to worry about when they sleep and have I fed them too much candy and what happens if I'm in the grocery store and they actually don't want to go in there or don't want to come out. And so I get that. So let's get started today. These slides you have. So you get to go and read them at your leisure. I'm not necessarily going to read them all. I'm going to talk practically because I am doing it. I have done it. Gratefully, I had an education degree because I think it took a little bit of my stress out, and I'm going to give you some of the things that I told myself to make myself feel better, that I was doing a better job. Okay, let's see if I can figure out which way, what I point to. There we go. So today, what I really want you to leave with is a framework. I want you to have in your mind, okay, I've got this little checklist of things. I know when that lady was telling me, she said there were 3 things to remember. Okay, I've done 1 of them. That means I've got 2 more to try. So that's really where I'm going. I'm going to give you a framework for parental strategies to manage these toddler issues. We will talk specifically about the value of playing with your child. We will talk about facilitating understanding of toddler speech development. I'd also like to talk about managing the toddlers' frustrations and their tantrums, talk about some healthy meals, and the stresses. I think lots of people worry so much, oh, my kid's not drinking milk, or oh, my kid's not eating whole grains and 10 carrots every day. And I'm going to talk about toilet training. You cannot have anything about toddlers unless you're going to talk about the potty and the bed. So we're going to talk about the potty and the bed and the food, because truly that is what, you go to lunch with, hopefully each other, because no one else wants to hear about your kids' potty issues. So, and it is really amazing how much it occupies of your life outside of here. And be grateful. You get to come here and actually talk about things that are not about functions that actually happen inside of your closed doors. It's amazing what we take out of our closed doors. Education is my background, and I leaned on it because I thought, babies weren't for me. I didn't know about them. I was kind of had my hands back, and so I really leaned on this. And this is a framework I want you to take home with you. If adults are going to learn something, we are all adults here. Most of the time, we are going to use visual. You guys have visuals in front of you right now. Your visuals here, and you get to listen to me. We are not going to get up and rub the floor to see how lovely the texture is, and we're not going to slide our cheek and see how smooth everything is. We're not going to dance. We're not going to sing, just simply because, although I would love to, don't get me wrong, but I figure my first introduction here at NIH probably shouldn't have you dancing. But, I mean, frankly, we don't need to touch a whole lot. And, we can get things from seeing. People do tend to really rely on sight. If they see it, it's going to come back to them. Well, let's talk about your toddler. If you'll notice the sizes of these pictures, the really big thing is that they want to touch everything. They want to play, they want to roll, they want to feel, they want to jump and sing and move and run and smell the air and roll in the leaves. They need it. And if you'll take them in a situation out of they're listening to you or they're looking at you, and you put them in a situation of let me touch it, things change. And it's fun. And if you don't think that squishy carrots are fun, and if you do not think that spilled water, or you don't think the bath bubbles are fun, you will, because it truly is one of the best interactions that you can take on with your toddler. Let's talk about play. One of the things, as an educator, I taught fourth grade, third grade a little bit, and they would come in there and they would say, well, when my kid was small, they knew all their ABCs before everybody else. And we know our numbers up to 20, and he is not even 2 years old yet. And my child was sitting up before they were 6 months old, and my kid, listen, that is developmental. You can have a kid that waits until they're, 15, 16, 17 months old to walk, and it's all good. They may be your next rocket scientist. And I think that parents, because they want their kids to be smart, we're in an environment right here at NIH where I know that you all value education. And I did too, and I do. But my kids are in kindergarten. For the first time, I'm looking at it from a new perspective. And it isn't about those ABCs, and it isn't about the 1, 2, 3s. And it's about thinking. It's about teaching a child to manage in this world. It doesn't matter how much they can add or how quickly they learn to do cursive. It's about play. Put on your Halloween costume in July. Get out anything that is dirty. Bring out the flour and the sifter and send them outside in the yard. They want to be with you. Number one, they want to be with you. And it's interesting because when you do get home, use that time and do something that is spectacularly fun. And honestly, it can be cutting up an orange. You cut it and they just squeeze the juices everywhere. So nothing has been purchased from these stores where they put all these glorious Barbies, and I don't know how Transformers got in my house, but I'm mad at whoever made Transformers because Optimus Prime and Bumblebee are taking over my life. So it's out there, and you know what? You're gonna deal with it. You're gonna have the TV issues. You're gonna have the candy. You're gonna do all of that comes, but just choose your particular times to be things that are playful. Here's my framework for you. Kinetic, auditory, visual. Use all the senses. You can take an orange. Let's think about that single orange. We can smell it. What does it smell like? Have you smelled anything else? Oh, yeah, Mommy, that smells like the medicine I got when I had a cough. Yeah, okay, that was orange flavor. And then you touch it. You roll it around. You listen to it. You close your eyes and you squeeze it. Did you hear that? It made these tiny little pops. Wow. So that is your kinetic piece. Let's take another example with the rhythm and rhymes. This is actually, I list this particularly because kids love it when you just make songs up. Sing, hi, sweetie, how are you? We're going to the store. Let's go to the store. Let's go to the store. Seriously, that's the song. And they love it because they know what comes next. Let's go to the store. So you can be as silly as goofy, and they are actually getting the repetitiveness out of that. Furthermore, that current brain research is showing that children that are bounced up and down on your knee and they get a little of this action in a rhythm and they use their rhyming words, those both teach a kid to their brain to create those little, I'm sure all of you here are thinking, she's saying those little things that connect in the brain. Oh, I know, I'm at NIH. But they are developing, they're connecting. Rhyming words helps kids learn to read. So huge. Just a little auditory idea. And then next we have our visual strategy. Have them watch you. Oh yeah, and this means, you have to watch what you do. Pick things that you really would like them to see, and if you find yourself doing, well, I kind of wish my kid wasn't seeing this, then do it later. So, and basically these just give you some ideas of really valuable ways in your mind to have a framework of, okay, we got to play. She said senses. She said visual. Okay, I'm diving into something. Let's talk about speech. Parents, this is something that is also developmental, but parents really get worked up about. Their kid hasn't said a word, and they're, 13 months old, and everybody's like, nah. Listen, it takes some time. It really, really does. And you might have one of those, like my brother, who literally said nothing and then said a whole sentence. Mommy, I want my bear. First thing he ever said. I mean, he said Mama and Dad, but he had nothing to say. Honestly, he had nothing to say. And he still doesn't. But he, knowing that this time for your child is incredibly frustrating. Incredibly. Because they want to tell you they're thirsty. They get that feeling. They understand what hunger is. And they know that if they actually got to eat that. So you hear, that's all you get out of it now. And you reading their mind, not so easy sometimes. I know that I set a checklist in my head, which you all have this checklist. Do they have a poo in their diaper? Okay, are they wet? Okay, are they hungry? Okay, are they thirsty? Okay, do they itch? Is there a tag? I mean, the list goes on and on about what could possibly be making them cranky. But follow the list, because you'd be surprised when you get down there and you're like, oh, they can't stand these socks. Who knew? Who knew? So, talking. Honestly, hi, sweetie, here we are. We're going to the store. I'm going to buckle you in, and now Mommy's starting the car, and now we're going to drive, and I think I'm going to turn left. Let's turn left. Yay! Okay, now we're driving. Honestly, the rolling of your words is what rolls in their head, and they are making the connections, and they need the connections in order to they all starts to have value. Because at first it sounds like, won't, won't, won't. It sounds like the lady from Charlie Brown. It's nothing. And then they can delineate sounds, and then, they start to hear the S's and the B's, and then they start to experiment, and that little mouth starts moving, and da, da, da. And then they start making that crazy, da, da, da. And honestly, all they're doing is trying to do what you are doing. That's all they're hearing. So if you're giving them the right thing, and none of that, hi, sweetie pie. You were so good. They don't need that. They don't. They need the real words. You are working to develop their speech, and they are not going to grow up saying, hi, sweetie, goody, goody, goo. So talk to them as, they're little people. Let's go back to my framework. Kinetic. Let them touch it while you talk about it, because they remember they're learning mostly when they touch it. So all of a sudden they've got this one thing is going, and now you're challenging them by having them listen about it too. So now you're using two streams of thought. See, you're making your baby a genius. You had no idea because you were talking to them about, yes, that's a spoon. Bang your spoon. Spoon. And, you know, you guys are already on the right tracks with those pieces, and I'm just telling you they're valuable. Say a word and ask them to repeat it. This is when you start to actually get some language. I know that I just have my 4-year-old, he went to speech and language. Well, first of all, I had his hearing tested because I was just sure something must be wrong with it. And she looked at me and she said, I bet your gut tells you he's just fine. I said, yeah, he's just fine. So he just completely ignores me. And then he had this, I don't know, he felt like there's cotton all in his cheeks. And I said, you know, just listen to him, make sure he's all good. Well, developmentally, he's just fine. And the reason they knew it was because she said, say, you know, school. And he would say, school. And if he made the error, she would help him correct it and self-correct. And so she said, you know what, he will do it. He's just not ready. So having them repeat it back to you gives you the heads up on, well, they still sound like they got a lot of cotton in their mouth, and this is not changing. So it gives you some idea. But, you know, listen to them. Encourage them to put their lips together to make the oohs. And, you know, really, that's what the speech pathologists do when they sit down with your child. Let's talk about the visual. They're watching you, and they're watching you run around, and you're doing the dishes because you just have to, or they're sitting at their high chair while you're actually trying to scramble up something for dinner. Tell them everything because they are watching you. And now they are not only watching you and hearing you, but they're connecting the two together. Let's move on. Oh, my favorite. I had a queen tantrum. She is so good. She's so good. So I can stand up here as an expert. Now, I'm not going to be the expert when he gets to potty training because I just gave up. But this, I know. And basically, I had to outsmart her. Frankly, it was. And that is really frightening to think that your 2-year-old is smarter than you. Because I just could not wrap my head around the fact that she would do this no matter. Like it was going to happen. And so my job was to get ahead of her. All right. Do not take her anywhere when she's hungry. Ever. Unless you are prepared to dig every nasty Cheerio out of the bottom of your purse and hand it over. So that was rule 1. Set yourself up for success. Set yourself up for success. Have every toy. I had to go to a confirmation at the cathedral last weekend with all 3 of my children dressed up in do's. I had a bag slung over, and I had 10 coloring books, markers, color pencils. Don't take them to the cathedral. They make tink, tink, tink when they fall on the floor. I had picture books. We had little things to slide. I'm telling you, and you know how long we stayed? 40 minutes. And I was so proud of myself because we'd made it 40 minutes. For goodness sake, set yourself up for success. Outsmart them. And that will be from now until the end of time. I'll let you know how the teenage years go because I'm a little nervous. But don't give in. Don't you being at the grocery store and you got that kid laying on the floor and I'll buy you a lollipop at the checkout. I've done it, yeah, because I don't want to hear you screaming anymore. I get it. It's natural and human. But do your best to set the standard. This is not how human beings act. I know you're 2, and honey, it's so hard being 2. Kisses, kisses, love. But get yourself up, and we're leaving. So set your standards and stick to them. I did have a kid who she was a banger. And we go into her room, and she'd just tear everything up. And, you know, that got nerve-wracking because I thought, well, I can't have her live in, you know, one of those fancy fuzzy bubbles. So, you know, I did have to stay in there with her tantrum. Nothing is worse than that. So if you can outsmart them before they get there, it's your best strategy. Tantrum strategies from a tactile place. A lot of kids crave touch. You'd be really surprised to know how many. And even though they buck up like this, they really do want you to touch them. They really want you to know that it's their behavior that you're mad at and not them. And by touching them, even just a small bit, rubbing a knee, giving a hug, you know, just saying, are you finished? I know it's been so tough, but I'm here and I'm ready to hug you when you think you're ready. And they need to feel it. And sometimes the harder the better because they just want to feel protected. a strategy for auditory is sing them a little song, have something, we had the tantrum song, which she has outgrown, thank goodness, because I was, it was the teddy bear song. When they went on a picnic, it was getting a little much for me. I'm done singing the teddy bear song. But also show them how to be angry. I'm not sure that I can say, everybody says, okay, well, get them to hit a pillow, or, but this is especially when you're angry. Make sure that how you are behaving is, when you're angry at them, that it doesn't, end up being you popping them, or because that's what they're getting out of that, is that, oh, I'm angry, she's angry, and because she's angry and the way she reacted is she hit something. So show them other ways to be angry. Take a minute, breathe, count to 10, stomp your feet, sing, flap your arms, do something that takes you out of the moment, and encourage them as they get older to use those same strategies. And even teeny little 1-year-olds, you can say, let's sing a song, la, 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 let's sing it louder, la, 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 and they'll start to sing and scream, and all of a sudden, why they were mad, they have no idea. Let's talk about some healthy eating habits. Oh, everybody does worry about the food, don't they? And frankly, your responsibility is to put good food in front of them. They don't eat if they're hungry. They really are. And honestly, there are schools of thought on this. There are some that think, eat when you're hungry. And then there's some, like me, eat when I tell you that it's ready. Because I am no short order cook. Now, I'm not devaluing the other, because there are people that, there's actually quite a bit of research that says, eat when you're hungry, so that you're filling up your caloric intake. But I think that for me, in my life, I couldn't go around making everybody food all the time. So the food that we ate when we did, my rule is redeeming quality. If we're having corn puffs, they have corn in them. Or they have Go-Gurt, actually is made from yogurt. It's not ideal, I get that, but I can, there's Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. It's made from peanut butter, which has protein. So I've tried to feel like, I'm not just giving them cotton candy, which is nothing but fluffed up sugar. So, I try to have some sort of redeeming quality, and also, don't keep it from them. Because honestly, you'll have that kid that's in their room, got all their candy stuck underneath. If you were one of those, I was one of those, where you stick it in their pillowcases, and you're like, yeah, it's bedtime, I can go eat my chocolate. So, don't hide it, but focus on what they eat. I like that. Focus on what they eat, not how much. They really aren't terribly hungry. They might eat a super huge breakfast and nothing else the rest of the day. It's all good. The bottle thing, I'm sure you've all heard about it. If you are, there's no judgment here. Yeah, they've got a bottle. They're 3, they're 4, they're 7. No worries. Just don't put milk in it. When they're going to bed, really do try to wean them to water, just because it really does matter for their teeth. So, people ask me all the time, well, what about pacifiers? Or what about this? What about that? I don't care. Just sleep and eat and poo and do some. I think it's about making it work for you. You got a kid sleeping in your bed? Fine. Are you sleeping all night? If you're not, then it's not fine. So those are different ways to look at it, and we're going to get to sleep, I believe, in just a bit. Oh, I just had to put this in there. I just love the food thing. If you can let go, get an IKEA high chair, which can be cleaned like this, instead of digging in and those little squishy, puffy things, and then you're like, oh, man, these green peas are nasty. They've been there for 3 weeks. Those things are gross. So get one. You can just whip it out, clean it up, and be done. And put them on the floor. Honestly, let them touch all of their food. They'll just start shoving it in their faces, and then you go and put the rest of the squash in there, and, and go for it. And I think your pediatrician will help guide you when it's time to start the real food. Go ahead and start the real food when they say. Breastfeeding is great. Bottle feeding is great. But go on and start that real food, because that's what we all eat. Auditory, tell them about vegetables and fruits and how they make their body strong. Honestly, I did this from the minute go when anybody was hearing me about milk. Milk makes your bones strong. Milk makes your bones strong. Milk makes your bones strong. And good gracious, my kids are like, milk makes your bones strong. Milk makes your bones strong. So they are saying, Mommy, you haven't given me my milk today. My bones aren't going to be strong. So you make them the advocate for the good stuff. Well, Mom, you know what? I have a daughter she's a carb girl. And so it was all about dessert. How much do I have to eat before I get dessert? How many more bites? Do I have to eat all the chicken, Mom? I don't know if I really want to. How many do I have to have dessert? So I enlisted the help. I have a very good girlfriend who writes for the organization 0 to 3. It is an organization downtown, and if you haven't ever been to their website, it's fascinating and really, really well done. But I said, okay, let's banter. What's your strategy? And she said, well, there's a new, I just read a new article that said, put everything on their plate, dessert and all. Your job is to put it in front of them. Their job is to eat it. Okay, so here we go. I sit down, and Emma Grace goes, oh, my gosh, we have cake on our plate. Woo! And my son, Charlie, her twin, says, Mom, if I eat my dessert first, then I won't have anything sweet to finish my meal. And I said, and you are a genius, friend. Eat your carrots. So he eats his vegetables first. Mommy, these are the things that make me really strong. So then my daughter's over there, and she's like, oh, I already ate my dessert. And I was like, well, that was your choice, and you can do whatever you want. And she was like, but I'm not sure about the vegetables getting to my muscles. Yeah, all right, you go, girl. Eat your carrots. So, again, this is another example of me outsmarting them. Yeah, that's going to get me. You just wait. Finally, put the stuff in your house is not Lucky Charms and, all the fancy things that glow. Put out your bowl of fruit. Put out your whole grain bread so that the things that they see in your house and the things that you eat are not the Doritos and the every day when you come home from work, that's not what you're pulling out. You pull out the apple and cook the whole grain pasta and my husband, Dove chocolate. Seriously, could you just leave it in your car so that we don't have to see your Dove chocolate? So, and show them. I mean, it's the 3/4 of the battle. And then jog a little, and heck, you might lose a pound. So, let's go to the potty. Everyone's favorite. I don't know. I really didn't do this so good. So, and you know what? The best thing I did is I did not worry about it. Not a minute. I didn't care. Okay, diapers. There you go. Got to pee? Good. Woohoo. Here's the potty. Go sit on it. Oh, you don't have to go? I don't care. I didn't care. Was it the right? Was it wrong? I don't know. They're 5 and 4. Everybody's potty trained. Everybody's sleeping through the night. But, man, it was a long haul. And then I have friends who say, oh, my daughter told me when she was 2, I don't want to wear diapers anymore. And she's never had an accident since. Where I'm like, good for you. Have a party. Because I missed that girl. That didn't happen for me. So it happens for you. Glory be. And it does. And truly, kids are incredibly individual. So if one kid does that and you got your another one coming along and it's working on your 3rd year and your 4th year and the preschool says you can't send them to school till like, where the diapers, and you're like panicking, I'll give you 2 M&Ms for every minute you sit on the potty. I mean, we are just desperate times. But just honestly, go do it in the summer if you can. Take the clothes off. Let them run naked. Let go. Don't stress about it, because the worst thing that you want is that 25-year-old, oh, I got a potty. You'd have no idea what is happening later in the psyche when you are stressing about the potty. Also, make them wash their hands really early on. Every time, every time, because, it'll be time to go to bed, and they'll just, and my boys, the boys, I'm like, I know you're going to bed, and you're getting in your bed all by yourself, but it's still really gross. So get up and go wash. I digress. People have always said, you know what, this is just too hard, I'm going back to diapers. You make your mind up before you start. Truly, it's killing you. Just decide, or let them decide, and go with it. We'll have some strategies. Touching things, they love the wipes. They love the toilet things. They have these cute little things you can put in the toilet. Actually, I took toilet paper and folded it into triangles and told the boys to aim. That was super fun. Then you can do that also in a square. If you really want, you can make a hexagon and they'll aim. When they go, they want to touch it. Get the soap out and the bathroom is your friend. Let's go and hang out in there. It's not a place to be scared. It's not a place to be worried. And, that's how you kind of get started. Then sing them songs that rhyme, because if you rhyme, you're making them smarter. And they really get a huge, they're like, oh, okay, we'll hear that song. Hey, wait a minute. And we made our song up actually. Pee-pee in the potty, pee-pee in the potty. Seriously, and it worked. And then let them watch you. Yeah, I know, goofy, really strategic things. However, it is really valuable. So, they need to see it. It actually happens. Everyone goes. They have a really cute book at the library. Everyone goes, or everyone poops, or something like that. So, anyway, set yourself up for success. Let's talk sleep. Yes, they need 13 hours of sleep. Yes, they do. And they should be getting it from start to finish when you finish the evening of the nighttime meal. This is where the adults get competitive. Well, how old was your kid before they slept through the night? Mine was 6 months old, and mine was 4. Mine just did it straight when they got home. My mother. I know that of course me, I wasn't as good as my brother. My brother, slept 8 hours his first night home from the hospital. Sure he did, Mom. Sure he did. Yeah, and that was what, 40 years ago? You remembering that? Oh, I bet you are. Honestly, it just isn't a way to define anything. You need to get in your groove. I know for me, 6 to 7 months was a time where I'd had enough, and I need to figure out what we were going to do. And my doctor told me the gold of all gold: sleep begets sleep. The more they get, the more they will get. Naps, give it to them and let them go, and then put them right back down to bed. One nap in the morning, one nap in the afternoon, and then they go again at night. Early. Not 8 o'clock, not 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock. All kids, when your kids move past this, I swear to you, they need sleep. So figure out how it's going to work for you. Now, there is the piece where people have said to me, I work, and I'm barely getting in the door and eating dinner by 7 o'clock. What happens next? You rotate something so that they go to bed on a routine, because a child that gets sleep will end up performing better in anything. So it's just a huge priority. And let's think, you've had your sleep, babies had their sleep. This whole thing was about enjoying the toddler years. I mean, that's your anchor. It's a huge anchor. I would encourage you to make it your priority. When you go home, wherever you are, you might be feeling like, yeah, I got my sleep under control. Woohoo for me. But if you make it it's like potty training. You've decided, all right, making the changes. It's not easy. If you have set some bad habits in, if you've got your kid going to bed with milk, you'll fine. But make it so your child is in their bed for that hunk of the evening, and it will make your life fabulous. You will glow. You will be healthy. Your child will learn. I think my doctor did tell me one time, your child's watching too much TV at night, and that's why, because he went through these little dreams. Sugar, caffeine, all absolutely real things to be talking about. I think that routine, when I talk about strategies, touch things. A really nice transition is a lovey. Give them something that represents you. Sleep with it a few nights. It'll smell, and then all of a sudden they do get attached to it. It really is incredibly valuable. Then pick them up. They're crying. Go, hi, honey, I love you. I know. It's just down. That they need the touch. Reassurance. Here's my bed. And have them in the opportunity to love their bed, love their crib. Auditory, and this really isn't necessarily for your child. It's for you. They've gone to bed. You're listening. And they go, wee! Just listen to what they're saying. They might be saying, I'm really tired. I can't wait to go to sleep. So give it a minute and wait. And give it a minute and wait. They'll do it again. They'll do it again. You all as parents know that cry. And go get them on that cry. Give them a minute to get to know, hey, look at me. I'm a little person, and I am independent, and I can manage this all by myself. And yeah, they might be 1, they might be 2, but they so get that they have an opportunity not to need you. So give them a minute, and then you hear that cry. Okay, hi, honey. Yes, relax, relax, relax. Okay. Okay, night-night, friend. I'll see you tomorrow. And this is after you've done your bath. You've done your little massage of lotion. Oh, I remember being so good about lotion massages. That was years ago. And, your nice book, and then play your lovely Mozart, and they go to sleep. The last, actually, I just said it. Create the routine. They're actually visualize, oh, here comes the bathtub. Here comes the lotion. I see the book. Okay, now I'm going to wind myself down. And now I see my mommy coming back in here, right? And oh, I see my mommy leaving. Okay, so you are giving your child a chance to be. Just be. So I am going to take questions if you have any, and I'm hopeful that you will take home with you strategies: kinetic, auditory, visual. It gives you 3 ways to think about anything that's going on with your child's life, and I hope that you've gotten something out of it. Anybody have any questions? And you do have to click this, if you don't mind, and ask it in, because they can hear you in cyberspace. Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering, how was the adaptation when you had was it your 3rd child? I'm not sure if your twins came first.
My twins were first. Whose adaptation, mine or theirs?
Well, theirs.
I'm
or
sorry?
your baby.
The babies. They were pretty little. They were only 14 months old.
Okay.
So it was really an adjustment for me, because I really thought I was going out of my mind. So it was, I really had to wrap my head around routines. And that truly was what saved me. And, what crazy people have their kids like teeny weeny. I didn't, wasn't necessarily, it wasn't ideal. But they were sleeping. I am crazy at night, and I made it a commitment. But it also made all of us so incredibly happy. So when they were sleeping at about 8.5 to 9 months old. They had 2 naps and then slept 10 hours, maybe more. Like 7 to 7, that's like 12 hours. They would go to bed at 7 and wake up at 7 the next morning, plus 2 naps. Anybody have any fabulous questions for me? I did that good, seriously? Yes. Yeah, my tiny one, her question is, sometimes moms and dads aren't on the same page when you want to set standards or best practices, we'll call them, just simply because, perhaps it's a routine that you've already set. Perhaps it's cultural. Perhaps it's work schedules. Perhaps it's ages of the child, that can change so many, or other children for that matter. Yeah, I have that problem, the Dove chocolate thing. I just can't seem to get all the candy and such out of my home. One of the things I would suggest is just open the dialogue, having the opportunity just to interact with your spouse on these issues is valuable. Because, if you haven't ever really discussed it, or you haven't said, listen, I want to try this and this is why, do you have anything else that you think might work? I think it's a valid point. I think in this particular area, especially because of the work schedules, it's incredibly valuable because, there's a dad that comes home at 8 o'clock and he wants to see his kid. So finding your middle of the ground, I think, is incredibly valuable. What is it that you want? Do you want sleep, or do you want positive interaction? And you pick, or you create something that works along those lines. I'm obviously not up here giving you, I'm trying to give you some general blueprint, but it is for you to take home and figure out how it fits in your life. So, good question. There was somebody here? Did you have, yes?
Under the healthy sleep habits, you say move from the crib to the bed at 14 to 16 months. Mm-hmm. That seems a little early.
Again, these are kind of guidelines. Is there a
particular reason for that?
I will say that I did my twins right before they turned 3. They moved to their crib, and then Jack went when he was 1. So I think that having them move is one of the examples of the independence piece that I was talking about. When you are telling them you are a little person who has and they have this little space that's a crib, and also giving them the opportunity. However, I think it's also an opportunity for you to make the best decision for yours. A lot of people do it because they're having another kid. They want the crib. So they're like, get out, I got another one coming. So, so I'm not going to say, I can't necessarily rattle off the research behind that. I think it's based on, let's do some, keep it in the mind for an opportunity for your child to start to increase their independence. But again,
I just worry about
falling out. Yeah. I let Dad go a long time ago, but yes, I think it's valuable, and I think it's valid. Put a gate, get a gate for the top if you're going to worry, safety things. Honestly, I think I'm looking at all of you, looking at me as I've told you all these things, like I'm like, the greatest and the guru, but gosh, if you came to my house and actually saw the bruises on my children and, the choices that we've made, my elbows and knees are dirty just like yours, where I am just trying to figure out what it is. I'm just giving you some educational frameworks to wrap it around. But it is still left to you. Just as I'm setting this up for you, and it's your job as a parent to set it up for your child for success. Yes? In the microphone, if you don't mind, so that you can go into cyberspace with me.
I don't, okay, so I have a 4-year-old and a almost 2-year-old, and my problem is they are constantly getting into tiffs, like nonstop. If I put them in timeout, they'll just be in timeout all afternoon or all night. So do you have any advice on how to, for their interaction?
You mean that they, with each other, the sibling?
Yeah, like, one will hurt the other. One will, like, hurt the other, and then they'll cry, and then one will hurt the other, and just go on.
Okay, they're 4 and 2. Are they boys, girls?
Boy and girl.
And the boy's older?
Yes.
Okay. I only ask that just because there are really, even though we'll call them stereotypes, there are some truths to some of that. The boys tend to be a little bit more rambunctious, and the girls, they really do. I had my own science experiment. Boy, girl, they grow up, and they absolutely have boy things they like and girl things that they like. And, as far as sibling things, especially for the 2-year-old, the 2-year-old doesn't get it at all. So, they really, they're not really quite sure yet what kind of interaction, because it's, this is just an interaction with the brother, that she doesn't know that it's a good or a bad, it's just an interaction. Now she's crying because, hey, that really hurts, so she gets something out of that, but having her, if she hits him, she's not getting that piece. And as for him, it's time for him to have consequences. He's the one that should have the timeout piece. But kids are going to fight, number one, and setting them up in the opportunity where they don't is key. So, for instance, my boys, yum, 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 yum. Okay, here's a ball. This is where all of that action turns here. So I create, we got a balloon out yesterday because I really thought that my head might explode because they're doing the same thing. Okay, you hit the balloon back and forth and count to 30. Okay. And they were like, and then no one remembered that they were having an argument. Point is, find, okay, here they are, and where are they sitting when they're doing this? If they're in the car, then put one up, move them, change something. If they're sitting at the dinner table, move them further apart. If they are both coloring, the 4-year-old's probably a pretty decent, he's got some art skills. The 2-year-old driving him crazy. So take her, put her here with, her little thing that she likes, and separate them. Set them up for success. Know it's going to happen, and know that your 2-year-old needs a little bit more time.
So the 2-year-old shouldn't have timeouts because she doesn't.
I'm not saying she doesn't need timeout. She needs to know that what she did was inappropriate, but she still developmentally isn't quite ready to kind of get it on the 4-year-old's level, especially because if they're both sitting in timeout, he's getting way more out of that because she's like, "Hey, look, I'm sitting in the corner. All right, So it's going to take you a little bit of time, for her to actually for that to be developmental for her.
So you touched on auditory. What about, call it deaf child syndrome?
Yeah, I got one of those.
Don't listen, no way, no how?
If you had any particular strategies you'd like to share, I'd take them. Actually, my mother came up. It was really helpful because she wasn't having it. So that actually was just this morning, I have to say. He doesn't wear pants. He only likes shorts. And he has only particular socks that he likes, and then that's it. Okay, so I will tell you this. This is my mentality right now. I am currently in experimental mode. So we did where I said, "Oh, you better be ready, or I'm going to leave." And I actually got in the car, and he was hysterical, and it worked for a day. That didn't work anymore. We worked for things where I set him up on, oh, look, let's earn a point. If you go do this, you get a point. That worked for a little bit, and then he's done with that. I did things where he loves music. He likes that song by Gwen Stefani, "Ooh-hoo, wee-hoo." So every time we got in the car, if he got his clothes on, we'd listen to that in the car. That worked actually for a pretty long time. Yeah, and then that got kicked to the curb. So what I will tell you, it's about outsmarting them and not resorting, which I do, and I'm standing here telling you don't do it, but I do. Then you're screaming. I just try my best not to be mad because he knows I want it done, and I know he knows, and so there is an opportunity. It's not at 7:30 in the morning for me to discipline, so I try to find the opportunity later. I said this, that's when I really follow through. It's time to dinner, and I want these crayons picked up. You haven't done it yet, and none of you, okay, that's fine. Well, then you can go sit on the stair. And so I can't do it at first thing in the morning, so without yelling and screaming. I am doing my best to outsmart him, I'm straight up with you. I think it's incredibly challenging for me, and he is headstrong and he's just as cute. He looks and he goes, "I'm sorry, Mama." And it's one of those funny things is that I'm hopeful that when I started this whole thing and I developed this whole program that I was going to send out there, I thought this is what I'm going to remember because I'm giving it to you and reminding myself of things because it's hard. It is hard. It's hard. But I'm committed. You're committed. Dig in. Come up with something new. And then email me. Yes. Yep.
They got stuck on shorts, so now it's like shorts on leggings.
Well, oh, yes. Her question is transitioning from whether, changing your clothes. And, if you have a kid that really does transition slowly, warming them up to it, telling them. I've actually told my kids we were going to get their flu shots. And so we've been talking about it for a week. And, just preparing them. And, yeah, it stinks, and I know, and what a bummer we're not going to. But giving them the heads up on it so that they get, they dig in. And they start to accept it. You know what? I know some of you are getting ready to leave. Please don't leave without doing that little yellow paper because that's my responsibility. So there's a little evaluation. Tell them, if this was at all worth your time. But nonetheless, give them a heads up as early as you can on anything. It's always beneficial. So I'm going to be here. You can ask me questions on your own. I would love it. And please fill out the evaluation when you go. And I think there are some cute little Frisbees for you to take home to your toddler. And thank you all for coming. I know your lunchtime is incredibly valuable, so I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.